If Sophie's father had simply acknowledged her, Bridgerton wouldn't have had a storyline for season 4. Now, granted, none of us watch Bridgerton for historical accuracy, but we can still learn history while we're watching it and enjoying the show. In season 4, the big conflict is that Sophie is illegitimate, therefore she has to work as a maid. But in actuality, that is not what would have happened. In English law, children derive status from their fathers, not their mothers. So even with Sophie's mother being a maid, if her father had been like, this is my natural born child, which is what they called them instead of bastards. This is my natural born daughter, Miss Sophie Baek. And she would have had a dowry, she would have been gentry, and she would have been able to marry someone like Benedict, who was a second son and no longer even a spare. Heir and a spare, meaning we need somebody to be able to die and we can still be in charge around here. Later on, Sophie finds out that she does have a dowry, and her dowry is not small. It's 18,000 pounds. Bridgerton is set in the early 1800s, so that kind of money was like $2-3 million in today's dollar, which would make her a prize pick for any fortune-hunting gentleman who was land rich and cash poor. She wouldn't have been a lady, but she also wouldn't have been a maid. Remember in Queen Charlotte when Queen Charlotte is telling Violet that her kids have kids, but they're not legitimate? Illegitimate whore babies, I believe is what she says. One of her sons, William IV, was in love with this actress. They had this ongoing affair. They had a bunch of kids together. And one of the kids was Sophia Fitzclarence. This is funny to me because Queen Charlotte must have hated this, because Sophia was one of her names, and I feel like he named her after his mom just to piss his mom off. I love that idea. Anyway, Miss Sophia was illegitimate, like Sophie. But her father acknowledged her, so she was able to marry a baron, which is like Featherington level money, not Bridgerton level money. And her oldest son became a baron. The other thing is, Lady Penwood would not have been the executor of the will. That would have been a solicitor. They didn't trust women with money all like that. Women. Remember when young Lady Danbury in Queen Charlotte writes to the solicitor and just signs a Danbury, and he like, nah, I know it's a woman. The solicitor would have been the executor of the estate, and it would have been his job to make sure that Sophie knew that she had a $2 million dowry, and he would not have been laying down on that job because a lot of money is at stake. And this just goes to show you how dependent these women were on men. Having a good husband really mattered. With her father's acknowledgement, Miss Sophie Baek, respectable, marriageable, maybe a governess, but likely with an 18,000 pound dowry, you ain't gotta work. Without her father's acknowledgement, Sophie Baek, maid. I get that Bridgerton flattened this just a little bit for the storytelling aspect because we wanted a Cinderella story. But I feel like it could have been just as strong if her father recognized her and she still didn't know about her inheritance. Either way, Araminta was a bitch. What y'all think? Let me know in the comments.